You knew increasing congestion on main roads would lead to higher pollution levels for people living on those roads, for children going to school on those roads, to people walking on those roads. We call this social injustice. Any reduction in nitrous dioxide in LTNs is minimal, whereas main roads and boundary roads have suffered disproportionately. In fact, by making people drive more miles to get to their destinations, both inside and outside LTNs, it actually contributes to pollution. More miles driven, not less. More congestion. Point 2, road safety. From the data from at least 2 different sources, as well as Hackney's own data, side roads are not as unsafe as you seem to be implying. Accidents mainly happen on main roads and at junctions with main roads, not side roads. In fact, data says that closing side roads is actually making main roads more unsafe by adding to the number of accidents recorded. Hackney Council collected accident data showing an increase in accidents on surrounding main roads once you'd implemented your LTNs. It's not side roads where accidents happen, it's main roads. Your policy makes main roads more unsafe, not less. Kingston Road, Mare Street, Dalston Lane, Graham Road, Queensbridge, all increased the number of accidents after implementation of LTNs. I could go on because there's a long list of roads it's impacted on. 3, physical inactivity. A seemingly noble cause, but your policy seems to ignore that 14% of the UK population have mobility issues. Census 2021 Hackney, 1/5 of people living in Hackney have a disability. That's 37,020 people. 16,622 said their disability impacted a lot on daily activities. 1/5 of them reported having difficulties accessing public transport. Many of them rely on vehicles through Mobility's car schemes or blue badges to go to appointments, shop, live their lives. Some rely on buses too. You decided to clamp down on blue badge holders by failing to immediately give universal exemption to all of them. You know who they are because you have records of them all. Blue badges are issued by the council. You have records. So you don't need to do that. You chose to discriminate against them to make their lives more difficult. This is an ableist policy. You have a duty of care under the law to protect them. LTNs do not help the elderly or disabled. Why are you making them suffer in order to make already able-bodied people walk and cycle a bit more? 17,000 people signed this petition just to get it discussed. It's taken over 2 years and people are still signing it. In the online consultations, 58% of people in the London Fields LTN said they were against it being made permanent. 64% in Hoxton were against. Homerton 64%. But you went ahead anyway. Failure to listen. We call on you to give immediate universal exemption to all blue badge holders, not just companion holders. Stop using party whip to squash debate. We call on all council members to listen, not just go through the motions. We have legitimate concerns. Stop gaslighting us.
Can I ask you to
Closing roads is not the answer to the real issues facing our borough.
Thank you.
I'm Councillor Chris Kennedy. I'm the Cabinet Member for Health. And I supported the introduction of the LTNs in 2020 because I believe that they would reduce air pollution in this borough. Thank you, Ruth, and thank you everyone for bringing the petition tonight. It gives us a chance to look at the evidence and see if it has reduced air pollution in the borough. We have, in our papers tonight, and it's there for you to see, item 9 is our update on decarbonisation. On page 73 of our papers tonight, we have the annual status report. It gives us some of the readings in our diffusion tubes across the borough for nitrogen dioxide. That's the poisonous gas that comes out of the back of the tanks. Pages 19 to 20 of that report give 43 readings. 42 out of those 43 readings show lower levels of nitrogen dioxide 2 years after the introduction of LTNs than they did in 2019 before they were introduced.
On the main road in the park.
Please ask that we listen to each other within the chamber. Otherwise, we will have to be removed. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, I've referred everyone to exactly where I'm getting the data from. It's in the report in our papers tonight. 42 out of 43 of those tubes. There's a line in the Meatloaf song, isn't there? 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Well, 42 out of 43 is very good. That shows lower air pollution, that's better health for our residents, and that's why I support the LTNs. Thank you.
Listen to each other with civility. We've got a lot to get through this evening. Councillor Norcross.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I wasn't a councillor when I introduced the LTNs. When I first stood for election last year, I was proud to do so for the Labour Party and made the environment one of its top priorities. Committed to delivering a greener, cleaner, healthier Hackney. To cut carbon emissions, reducing air noise pollution, and making our streets safer for all. The Labour Party was prepared to take difficult decisions, sometimes unpopular decisions, to reduce traffic on our roads. All the traffic agents are likely to do that. It is from traffic again in the evidence to support that position. Traffic on London's residential roads has increased by around 75% in the last decade or so, meaning more cars on local streets that we're not to take. More cars, more noise and more pollution. Low traffic measures are one of the most effective ways we can to combat this. The evidence shows they work. You've seen journeys down both inside the schemes and the family roads surrounding the two.
Can I please remind people again, last time, that we need to be listening to each other?
So there's thousands of fewer journeys, so reduction in air pollution becomes with it. So that's lower carbon emissions and helping tackle the climate crisis. I really appreciate that you all to make your case, to make your argument, but I do disagree so I want to answer this petition. I think if we remove LTNs, it'd be a huge step backwards in our government to simplify our residents and show a lack of leadership and also tackle LTNs do
Not good enough.
Things more livable and more breathable. And when you put a Tory government, it has to do nothing to improve air quality. Or otherwise, actively campaigning to make things worse. I'm still proud that authorities like Hackney are leading the way on this issue.
I'm going to ask Councillor Coburn to respond. I am going to give a final warning that the room will be cleared unless we are prepared to listen to each other. I realise that there is a strength of feeling here and we appreciate the petition being brought forward, but we need to listen to each other with civility. Councillor Coburn.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I mean, it's difficult to know where to start from, given the quite restrictive but also absent sort of contribution from the opposition benches. I mean, look, Madam, if you've only got to look at the horrifying images from roads this weekend to see why we're taking bold climate action in what happened in the roads. And as all comparisons we all are as councillors, tackling pollution shouldn't be a political issue. It's something that all of us owe to future generations to be able to make sure that we're securing their future. I mean, every time I go to visit schools in this borough, the number one thing that children always say to me, time and time again, is better air quality and road safety. But before I do respond to the specifics of the petition, I do want to sort of respond to some of the contributions that have been made from the opposition benches, but also, I mean, the Green Party. I mean, got to be honest with the public about where you stand on this issue. Not just on this, but there's been a whole flow of contradictions since you joined the council. You wouldn't believe it. A lot of times they're going the Tories, flag in this borough.
Not good enough, mate.
In this borough. To the public, there isn't a huge law they're not on. They flip-flop. And to what you've had today, they've said absolutely nothing. The people of Hackney deserve to know where does the Hackney Green Party stand on this issue? You supported on New York. And it's the Tories, Councillor Steinberg. I mean, where do you even begin to start to respond to Councillor Steinberg? I mean, first, it's very difficult to rationalise such bold policy on climate action with a political party in Hackney that doesn't believe in climate change. But I must say, I do admire, and credit where it's true, I do admire the private schools and how you managed to get Greece to sort of support you in your motion. By the way, you were absent in that scrutiny and that you supported as well, which is very consistent.
1 minute, Councillor Coburn.
The specifics of the petition. I mean, firstly, it's very important to highlight that the petition says very little information and it's very outdated. So I'm going to go through each point on the petition. So the first point on the petition, it says that road closures should be reversed. But to be clear, low traffic neighbourhoods don't close roads. Every road is still accessible.
Leave me alone.
This is the time for Councillor Coburn to respond, not for us to listen to one another.
Indeed, if you go back to the 1970s, you would see a low traffic neighbourhood introduced in the Beauvoir, where there's some fantastic images of children and parents arguing for the restriction of traffic. What I would also say is as well, what's really important to note is Hackney's implemented approximately 120 similar traffic laws between 1970s and 2020. This is not a new phenomenon. On the petition point 2 around the consultation, I mean, well, we've had a consultation, we've had more than 20,000 people responded to the consultation, and the most recent significant scheme is Stoke Newington, nearly 60% of the public who lives in that area who supported that. But also, we've had the biggest democratic exercise of force since 2020, which was last year's local elections, where the public...
Can I ask you to stop shouting out? We will clear the Okay, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to adjourn the meeting. Thank you. Can we be civil? I understand there is a depth of feeling here. I understand that there is a depth of feeling, but if we cannot listen to each other, that is the last warning. I will clear the chamber.
Thank you, Madam. On request 3, they've asked for a meeting with the Mayor. The Mayor and I have had numerous meetings with two of you here today. We also had meetings with lots of different community groups and individuals as well. We do welcome community involvement, but look, finally what I would just say in the interest of time is our direction of travel is pretty clear. We set out at the start of the year what we call the traffic reduction plan, Hackney's low traffic plan, the long-term population plan. We set out the direction of travel which we're going to reduce traffic by a further 15% by 2026. It's a bold plan. It's a plan that's in Hackney Labour's Green New Deal, and it's one that we're going to deliver and not wait from. Thank you.
There's a couple of moments to respond, if you'd like.
Thank you for bringing us into this conversation. I would just like to say that what Councillor Coburn said, there was accusations without evidence about us saying one thing and doing another. We'd be very clear that we think LTNs are an important part of the addressing air pollution, traffic, all these other things. Pardon? It's an important tool.
Councillor Coburn, we do need to respect each other.
Thank you, Chair. I think it's important that we have things like smart road pricing. That's one of the issues. I think it's important that we do scrutinise things like those parking charges, because we have auto obesity, we have lots of people in SUVs, and I think it's a good idea for us to, with a high variety of vehicles and transport modes, get people out of their big SUVs and onto, electric motorbikes, which people who in car-free developments are not able to get on street residential parking for as part of those parking charges. So I think there's things that we need to do more. We'll be addressing more of these issues in response to item 9. And if you want a suggestion from the Green Party about how we can include residents and bring them along with these decisions that we're making, why not look at your own manifesto and an interest to declare here I work for an organisation that promotes citizens' assemblies, but use the citizens' assembly, bring people into that, and bring them along in the conversation about how we can do this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Vinnie Lovett. I'd like to thank the petitioners for coming tonight. I'd like to thank everyone who's joined us. Can members agree to note the receipt of the petition? No. Thank you. We will draw a line under that.
Grandmother, former teacher, is about the schools and the school children. who are attending school on those main roads. I know a couple of councillors here at the moment have children who are in those schools that I'm talking about. So my question is, despite school streets, which I think most of you know I fully support, at least 30, probably closer to 45, schools and nurseries on roads where LTN traffic has been rerouted face hours of increased traffic, congestion, daytime pollution, and risk of traffic-related accidents. What plans does the council have to decrease the harm and risk of harm for these babies, children, and young people?
Thank you. Councillor Coben, will you please respond? And you have up to 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Claire, for your question. It's good to see you again, bringing up a question in a different forum. I think firstly, I think it's important to recognise the impact of our school streets in the borough. Very proud that Hackney has the highest number of school streets in London and in the UK, actually, 49 school streets, which is helping improve tackle toxic air pollution in our borough, helping get more children to take buses, walk and cycle. I think, look, we agree on a very important point, which is obviously that there is too much traffic in Hackney roads. This, as you rightly said, brings with it air pollution, road danger, noise, and also contributes to climate change. The Department of Transport estimated that over a quarter of billion miles were driven on Hackney roads in 2021. That's 271 million miles to be precise, which although is down from 2002, is still too much to where we are right now, especially considering that 2/3 of Hackney households do not have access to a car. The council has a long-standing transport strategy that sets out our approach to addressing the negative impact of the legacy of the 20th century motor vehicle-centric transport planning that we have inherited, and measures to reduce the use of residential roads through traffic that have been part of the council's approach for some time. These are widely regarded as standard parts of the traffic management toolkit. Traffic on main roads in Hackney in 2022, really important point, had fallen by 6% against the pre-pandemic, where elsewhere in the country traffic had returned. So going back to proof points in the petition, what we have actually seen in Hackney is that low traffic neighbourhoods and the school streets that we are introducing, contrary to what's being presented by the petitioners, have had a positive impact on our roads. We've seen main road traffic reduction of 6%. But I appreciate that when viewed against the drastic improvements that some of the other areas have seen, namely 50% of the Hackney roads that are now part of Hackney's low traffic neighbourhood network, the main roads will not have benefited as much, and we still need to have a holistic approach, and we are going to bring a plan forward for main roads. And that's why we agreed, as part of the 3-year local implementation plan in January this year, alongside expanding the low traffic neighbourhood and school streets plan, we're going to set out a plan to address the issues on our main roads. The plan includes 80 other measures to reduce the impact and the harm caused by traffic in the borough by prioritising active transport, contributing to our climate action plan goals for only 5% of trips starting in Hackney to be made by private car or motorbike by 2023, and aims to promote fairness and to reduce inequalities in the system. But it's one thing to make and have plans, but we can also be delivering. As just a sample of what we've already achieved since the local implementation plan was adopted in January, we, as mentioned, we're committed to publishing a dedicated main roads toolkit this year. We're on track to deliver this plan commitment in September. We're committed to completing the borough-wide 20 miles per hour limit coverage, and since January working with TfL, we have achieved this, which is a fantastic achievement. We've committed to start to work to install new electric vehicle charging points, and since January we have signed contracts to install 2,000 new electric vehicle charging points. I've asked the public to suggest locations, and we're on track to deliver the first batch from this year. We've committed to 4 new school streets this year. Since January, we've already implemented one of them, with 3 more in October. We're committed to expanding the cycle hire offer in the borough, and we're on track to deliver 130 new locations this year. We're committed to providing an opportunity for every child in the borough to learn to ride a bike before finishing primary school, and since January, we've secured £40 million funding to meet that target this year. We are working with TfL to complete the Dalston to Leebridge cycle route, with works currently ongoing at Leavage Roundabout and on Leavage Road due to completion in the first quarter of 2024. And we've conducted a review of the bus network in Hackney and we'll be releasing proposals for improvements.
Councillor Cohen.
Yeah, just winding up now. So these are just some mentions of the many things that we're going to be doing over the next 3 years, but I thank Claire for her question and look forward to continuing engaging with her.
Can I just say,
Just pause a moment. You do have a supplementary question.
sorry?
Do you have a supplementary question?
Well, my question was to the Deputy Mayor who's responsible for schools, and I thought that my question set out very clearly, with support from Natalie, who got it down to 50 words to me, and it was about the impact on schools on main roads. What I heard again from Councillor Coburn is hand-picked, cherry-picked, whatever you want to call it, data that has nothing to do with my question.
Is there a supplementary question?
I do have a follow-up question. I did think it was going to be Councillor Bramble. So I wanted to say, over 2 years ago, I gave Councillor Bramble a petition signed by hundreds of parents of children at Marsbourne and rooftop schools and nursery on Dalston Lane, but still awaiting response. Who's advocating for those children? Don't their numbers matter? All of our children should be the same.
Is that a question?
In all those schools. And why has Hackney not acted to protect the most vulnerable in our society and commission some sort of independent research for inclusive traffic management that takes into account the lives of those children who tend to be from our ethnic minority and poorer communities? And I just find it shocking that this has been perpetrated by
I'm going to give
government.
Councillor Coburn a moment to respond to that.
I'm just wanting to say that last point about people of ethnic minority backgrounds. I speak as someone who is part of the black and brown majority background, and I'm proud that actually more than 50% of people who live within our low traffic neighbourhoods are people from lower social background, including many people from black and brown majority backgrounds. I think, Claire, we agree on the mission, which is that we have too much traffic on the streets of Hackney, and actually what we should be doing,
We not be shouting out, or I will have to clear the chamber. We need to listen to one another.
I think we agree on. I think we agree, right, which is that we've got too much traffic on our roads, and we totally accept, by the way, we're not saying that all the low traffic neighbourhoods that we've introduced, more the school shootings we've introduced are, 100% going to be the best thing that's ever happened to this borough. What we are saying is there's a package of interventions that need to happen. That's not the long-term implementation plan. Our journey on helping reduce pollution didn't just start in 2020. As I said, it started in the 1970s. What we've done from car free development all the way from 20 miles per hour in this borough. And what we want actually here is we want to work with people, residents like yourself, and community groups, to really think through solutions. But the reality is that unless we get rid of the vast number of traffic that we have, children in this borough will be suffering bad stunted lives.
Thank you. Thank you. Can we not be calling out? We have a hugely packed schedule this evening.
My name is Matthew. Does it speak? Yes, you can hear it, great. Can I say hello to Councillor Joe Walker, who's been working with me for the last year to help prepare this and has been meeting with residents and has written to all residents on Bullsbourne Road, which has been very, very badly hit and has been for 3 years now. And we're working hopefully together to come up with some solutions. I'm also the air quality champion for Hackney, alongside Newham, Tower Hamlets.
Can I encourage you to ask the question as we have a very packed agenda this evening?
Okay, 50 words. Residents live, walk, cycle, wait for buses, attend schools on Bullsbourne Road. There's still illegally polluted Dalston Lane, Graham Road. What solution with a reasonable time frame will Hackney Council be putting into place to mitigate the additional harm being caused to all residents the residents using, living on these roads since the introduction of the LTNs. Big increases on Dalston Lane, 25%.
Thank you for your question. Councillor Coburn, will you please respond when you get up to 5 minutes?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Firstly, thank you to the staff for bringing this question. Good to see you again. I want to see your local councillor, Joe Walker, is obviously being very much on top of this. And obviously we had the meeting with residents recently too, and we are going to be following up on that. I know you wrote to me about a meeting later this year, and I know that we are going to be following up on that meeting too. I think firstly it's important to know that some of the roads that Mr. Olbro mentioned in the question are roads that have always had historically high numbers of traffic, which is exactly the reason why we're setting out our plan in the local implementation plan. The short answer is to your question, and I want to assure you, is that we are treating Waltham Road as a priority, and that's why it was included in the local implementation plan as a result of the hard work that your local council is doing, and also some of the work that you've been doing locally. We know that there's more work that needs to be done on main roads, as I mentioned, and we're on track hopefully to be able to publish that in a toolkit in September. It's a commitment that we made earlier this year. We do agree, as I've said to our player and to yourself as well, that we do have too much traffic in Hackney, and that we need to work with Transport for London, our main boroughs in this case, Islington, in relation to Baltimore Road, partners and residents to be able to reduce the overall levels of traffic across the borough. This is a long-term vision that requires longer-term planning, and it will be irresponsible governments to be able to make unfunded promises as an easy answer. Historically, much of the funding for road schemes, especially related to main road corridors, comes from Transport for London, who are facing incredibly challenging post-pandemic financial situation, thanks to the political football that the Tory government has made of the TfL system. We need to prioritise and make difficult decisions, as we know that we cannot do everything that needs to be done all at the same time. That doesn't mean that we won't do everything, and that's the whole point of the plan, which is to point towards what our future vision looks like. That's why we've conducted a review of traffic on main roads and drafted a toolkit to help with those difficult decisions and to aid us in bidding for funding on our main roads. Until we have secured the funding, I cannot make a commitment on the timeline, but I can say that the initial work is currently on the way towards making bids for funding. We have mentioned the impact of LTN as well, which I'd like to briefly address. We recognise that there are some sections of our road network that have not benefited from low traffic neighbourhoods. I have to be honest and transparent with residents about this, and when we did make decisions on some of our low traffic neighbourhood schemes, we did commit to further work to actually fixing some of the problems that we've identified, for example, Norfolk Road, Wiltshire Park in relation to Stonington, and we're probably the most dense network of network real-time traffic monitors in the country. You will have seen results for the 3 roads that you mentioned in our initial release in the information of December 22, and we intend to release further data, at least annually, as part of our transparent reporting. In the traffic
levels of pollution, illegal.
Okay. Yeah. And as I say, we want to work with you to be able to address that. In that traffic study, we saw that across Hackney, main road traffic was down by 6%. Compared to pre-pandemic. That's very different to other boroughs in London, and that's as a result of the action that we've taken in Hackney. Finally, what I would say is I just want to thank Mr. Olbro for his question. It's a very, I know you work very hard for the community of Waltham Road and people live in that area, and it's not right that they have to live with that level of traffic. I think, again, as I said to Claire as well, we share the same ambition around tackling traffic. We're going to be working together and look forward to having that conversation with you.
Thank you. Mr. Olbro, do you have a supplementary question? And can I please ask that you keep it to a question? Thank you.
Of course. One thing, why are we counting traffic during school holidays? If that's going to be the review that Meta has discussed, it's null and void, it's not relevant. Also on Dalston Lane, which has currently illegal levels of pollution, there are not fit for purpose metro count monitoring next to the traffic lights on Dalston Lane, which happens to have one of the worst polluted roads in Hackney. 25% increase. Something could be done today, which is open some of the main through routes throughout East-West Hackney into Solvay immediately.
Can I ask that Councillor Coburn's given the opportunity to respond?
Thank you, Mr. Overall, for your follow-up question. I think that I'm proud to be leading on this journey in a borough where we have transparent reporting of data, an extensive network of monitors. The traffic counters, you asked why I was counting it during school time. We count it quite a whole year. So it's not, we don't time pick it for different years, so it's part of our transparent reporting. We do that also for air quality. My colleague Councillor Kennedy spoke about air quality. Hackney is the only borough in the whole of London that has a live air quality map where you go onto it and you can actually see that 229 of the 299 air quality monitors in Hackney have reported reductions in nitrogen dioxide levels, demonstrating exactly what we're doing. And in the areas where there has been an increase, it's only increased by less than %, showing the real-time impact of what we're having. But that is part of our monitoring, and as I said, we want to work with you to make sure that we get Portsmouth Road right, but also other main roads across the borough as well. So thank you again for your question, and we look forward to working with you.
Thank you for attending, Mr. O'Brien.
No, I just think it's for the transparency of the team to know. So, going back to the question, Mr. Carly's question, as I said, we've had obviously countless of consultations on this. But firstly, again, we agree, as I said to both Mr. Overall and to Claire, there is too much traffic in Hackney, which is exactly why we're trying to do more work in the borough. When we made the decision to retain the London Fields low traffic neighbourhood, we committed to conducting further analysis and carrying out further engagement with residents to review certain issues. We've been progressing with this work, including a recent consultation to review the hours of the bus gate on Landline Drive, which officers are currently in the process of analysing. We also committed to reviewing the layout and traffic circulation arrangements of the traffic filters in the section between the A10 and Queensbridge Road. We'll be consulting on alternative arrangements in the autumn that will have an impact on Wisdom Road between the A10 and Queensbridge Road. However, we do not intend on removing the low traffic neighbourhood. The LTN was implemented in September 2020 as part of an experiment that was subject to a thorough consultation for over 5,500 responses and a very detailed evaluation leading to a decision to retain the LTN in early 2022. Overall, the experiment was a success with profound benefits to a wider area. For instance, I'm going to give examples how air quality improvements were modelled at 147 out of 169.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna call for order again. Can we please listen to the question? I'm not up with that inflammatory language in the chamber, I'm sorry. It's not acceptable. Please resume.
So, air quality improvements were modelled at 147 of the 169 locations, which was showing improvements. Cycling increased on key routes between 11 and 57%. And in a representative poll, a quarter of residents told us that they cycled more as a result of the low traffic neighbourhoods. Overall, east-west traffic inside and outside of the low traffic neighbourhoods was down around the London Fields by 11.5%. Meaning that the increase on traffic on this section is lower than the decrease across the wider area. We already recognise that there are important questions about how we manage our roads fairly and how we ensure that fair transportation period, that there is an even distribution of benefits, because we cannot do everything at the same time, and we are setting out to do that. But we need to inform these questions with good quality evidence. This is why we have invested in one of the country's most dense networks of real-time traffic counters and almost 150 air quality monitors in the borough, which we need to use alongside other evidence, such as the publicly available TfL dashboard of road casualties. This is why we've committed to robust ongoing monitoring, as well as further specific review of certain issues and consultation on alternative options. And finally, what I would say is, as part of every low traffic neighbourhood that we did bring forward, we went through a process, and this was very true in the London Fields low traffic neighbourhood, where we published the data around bus waiting times, speed times, around air quality both within the LTN, on the boundaries of the LTN, on road traffic counts both within the LTN, on the boundary roads of the LTN. We looked at all of those information before we made that decision final, and of course, as I say, that was published on a regular 6-month basis, which both Mr. Crawley and other residents have access to. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bradley, do you have a supplementary question?
Sorry, but what a contemptuous response. Really, what a contemptuous response. You don't deserve representatives like you. But just a quick, modest proposal. If, for example, there's 4,000 extra cars on my road every single day as a result of LTNs.
It's a supplementary question.
The question is, why don't we let the people who live in London feel LTN and they drive? Why don't we let those people go through the filters, as you like to call them, instead of coming through Wilson Lane and through our streets? That will take thousands of cars off the street every single day. It's not only that. You're making our lives hell.
Thank you.
Thank you for that great question. It's actually an important question and actually gives me an opportunity to talk about our exemption policies, what we have exempted and what we continue to consider as part of our transport strategy moving forward. So firstly, when I first came into my role, and I know from Ruth's sort of presentation earlier, I felt it was the right thing to do. We felt it was the right thing to do to exempt blue badge holders from our bus gates, and we swiftly moved to do that, demonstrating that we're listening to the public in Hackney. In relation to there are exemptions on 4 bus gates, on Snowden to Church Street, on Downs Road, on Shepherd's Walk, and on Richmond Road. Those are exemptions that all Hackney blue badge holders have access to. Moving specifically to the point that you raised about individual car owners in Hackney, I think first it's important to recognise that, as I said earlier, most people in Hackney don't own cars, so further households don't own a car. One of the problems that we have in Hackney, Madam Speaker, is that Hackney is, we want people to look to visit their family, friends, to shop here, but ultimately there has to be that fair balance between good air quality. And as a borough that's, surrounded by, the city, the north of London, the east of London, everyone's driving through Hackney to get to where they want to, and more than 40% of traffic, I have a start right there. One final thing that I would say, and I didn't say this, more than 83% of cars who get a ticket for our penalty charge notices through the low traffic neighbourhoods filters are vehicles that are registered outside of Hackney, demonstrating the exact reason why we need low traffic neighbourhoods in Hackney.
We have now reached the end of the 30-minute allocated time frame. I'd like to thank members of the public who have submitted questions. Those whose questions were unable to be answered due to insufficient time will receive a written response. Can I invite members of the public in the seats to my left, if you are remaining in the meeting, please to move to the back of the chamber or to the public gallery, as these seats are reserved by the elected members. Thank you. Thank you. We'll now move on to agenda item 7. Questions from members of the public.
They actually care about this department. They're making our absolute help. But but it's not for you to say that, is it? It's not affect you, does it? You're actually sharing off you. You know what? You truly care about it.
Thank you. That's enough now. Thank you. We would like to continue with the meeting, please.